Ladies and gentlemen, I want to read you a really wonderful article in 538. The article is titled, "What are the chances of a brokered convention?" Forget about a brokered convention or whether Madam Secretary runs before or during the convention or whatever, runs to the doors of the building and then is nominated. The whole thing is a charade anyway. Why anyone takes this seriously is beyond me. But this is a really great article, very interesting. And 538 does a good job of trying to make sense. See, they take it seriously, but they try to make sense of all of this. So if you were actually interested, and if you believed that this wasn't a charade, this 538 has some brilliant articles. And it says right here, in theory, this means Democratic delegates could subvert the will of the voters and deny a candidate who had won the majority of pledged delegates the nomination. But this is highly unlikely. Well, okay. Barring perhaps a candidate dropping out between June 6th and the convention because of a scandal or other issue. Or because they're not viable, like Biden. This article was written before Iowa. Biden, Klobuchar, Mayor Pete, Bernie. Well, Bernie very likely won't give his delegates to anybody. He'll just eventually say vote for Clinton. I am telling you, Joe Biden is there to give Clinton his delegates. Now, I never really explained it that way, but because I never cared how the whole thing was. But see, the whole thing was set up. I didn't really care. But if you want to look into it and you want to look at the mechanism, here's the mechanism. Here are the intricacies. Whatever. The whole thing's a charade anyway. But here's the article. I want to read it to you again. What is a brokered convention exactly? And is it the same as a contested convention? First, consider the rather precise phrasing that our model uses. It forecasts the chance that a candidate wins, quote, more than half of pledged delegates. To be more exact, it forecasts the chance a candidate wins a majority of pledged delegates as of the end of the day on June 6th, when the last state or territory votes. Winning a majority of pledged delegates is not quite the same as winning the nomination. Why is that, ladies and gentlemen? Because these pledged delegates can do whatever they want, just like the superdelegates. The whole thing is nonsense! I'm trying to tell everyone! And the sooner that Clinton becomes nominee, the better for the world, the better for everyone. Trump will win, but we need to expedite this. Please, Madam Secretary, just run already. Run after Super Tuesday, before Super... Who cares? You're not going to get any resistance anyway. You just say that you're using an app, just like Iowa, that nobody cares. There's no resistance. There's no Bernie or bust anymore. That left with me when I left to vote Trump. Bernie or bust doesn't exist. People don't want to lose friends or, get into arguments with family members. Just run. Philippe Reigns, please tell Madam Secretary to run. You will receive zero resistance from the Bernie crowd because Bernie Sanders will simply say, vote for Clinton. Anyway, getting back to this. So, getting back to this. They're all there. You have to win, 15%? The whole thing's nonsense. So I want to read you. So I'll start with this. Okay, election update. What are the chances of a brokered convention? This is January 23rd, 2020. Okay. Less than you might think, but more likely than our model assumes. All right. This is an excellent article by Nate Silver and 538. Okay. I'm telling you that the Democratic Party is a machine. They're going to give plausible deniability for their overt, treacherous acts of deception and cheating. This is not difficult to understand. Even Boss Tweed and Tammany Hall and when the DNC lawyers said that they could pick their candidates in smoke-filled back rooms like in the 1800s. You look at Tammany Hall in the 1800s, they were more fair. They were more honest than what's going on now because this is a charade. They didn't even really care about the charade. They would just, count votes and, oh, look, we won. Here it's, well, God, we're just good. Oh, the app. Oh, there's an app. You couldn't find a calculator. You couldn't. I could go to CVS and buy a calculator. You got to use an app. A brokered convention is not a likely occurrence exactly, but it's not unlikely either. First of all of these candidates are going to give, either all of them or most of them are going to give their delegates to Clinton in some way, shape, or form. Whether they drop out, when Biden drops out, he'll give all his delegates to Clinton. His delegates are pledged delegates. He can do whatever they want. It says here in the article, 538 is at the forefront of all of this. There's also 270 to win. That's a really good one, too. Okay. If you want to find out the intricacies of the Democratic Party, and you really believe that that they have, honesty and goodness in their heart, and they're trying to really, create a fair system where, the cream rises to the top, and only the best candidate gets elected, and, Hillary, even though she's keeping the door open, of course, definitely doesn't want to run. She would just do it if she was, the Russians didn't want her. If you really believe all of this, then 538 is a great site to read. Okay, I'm telling you the whole thing's nonsense, but here, I'll read this to you. A brokered convention is not a likely occurrence exactly, but it's not unlikely either. It's roughly as likely as the Tennessee Titans beating the Baltimore Ravens earlier this month, or Donald Trump winning the Electoral College despite losing the popular vote. But that's happened before with Bush. You could lose the popular vote, no big deal. According to the 538 primary model, there's a 15% chance that no Democrat wins a majority of pledged delegates. Okay, so Biden, so on this model, Biden had the best chance of winning the nomination, and then it was Bernie at 22. Biden had a 42%. How each candidate's chances of winning more than half of pledged delegates have changed over time. So Biden, this was before Iowa, had a 42% chance. Sanders had a 22% chance. Warren had a 13%. Buttigieg had an 8%. Okay. The whole thing's nonsense anyway. But this is actually a really good, 538 is very good if you believe that Democrats are not up to their usual antics. So does that mean we'd be headed to a brokered convention? The first brokered convention of the modern era, which began in 1972? Well, not necessarily. It's time for a little bit of a detour into a brokered convention explainer. As a bonus, there's a Venn diagram coming. Awesome. Where is this thing? All right. There's the Venn diagram. Yeah. So, the biggest circle here is even if there isn't a majority on June 6th, the contested convention could be averted by a candidate asking their delegates to vote for the leader or by delegates defecting on their own to the leading candidate. Is H.A. Goodman have I not been right since 2017? My God almighty. There is no voting in this thing. It's just a bunch of, you're voting for delegates that will do, this is not electors in the Electoral College. That's part of the Constitution. They make up their rules. It's not even this is like the Houston Astros. They were even more honest with the buzzer and everything. Maybe, possibly with the buzzer. I don't think he had a buzzer. Did he have a buzzer? Who knows? Did he have the buzzer? I don't think Altuve had the buzzer. But whatever. So Altuve called it ridiculous that he would have a buzzer. Oh my God. Honestly, the Houston Astros are so much more honest than the Democratic Party. So much more honest with the trash cans and everything. But whatever. the Venn diagram, you can see it right here. Even if there isn't a majority on June 6th. See, I don't even take this seriously, but I know with my instinct and my, intuition, I know that they tailor-made the rules so that Clinton gets all delegates, because the delegates are not bound. They're pledged, but the pledge is like Scout's honor. It's not even a pledge. It's not even a pledge. It's not even a pledge, okay? It's the kind of thing like, hey, let's meet up next week. Okay, good, I'll call you. Okay. Is that a pledge? You've pledged to meet up. I'll call you. Okay, great. Okay, sounds good. Okay. That's not a pledge. There is no such thing as a pledge delegate. The only difference between a pledge delegate and a super delegate is that the super delegate is overtly like, yeah, we're going to Clinton. The pledge delegate is like, I've got to wait till Biden drops out. Look, aside from Pete Buttigieg and Bernie Sanders, there are no passionate supporters. Maybe Warren has some. There are no passionate Klobuchar supporters, okay? There are Klobuchar supporters, but there are no passionate ones. How can you be passionate about eating salad with a comb? So I am trying to tell you. This whole thing is, they're honest. Don't you understand? They're honest. They're being honest. They're like, these are the pledged delegates. They can vote for anybody they want. But they wouldn't get people upset. Well, what are the people going to do? Well, the Bernie Sanders voters might not vote for the Democratic nominee. Oh, yes, they will. You want to know how I know? Because Bernie Sanders would be like, let's let bygones be bygones. It's water under the bridge. Comme ci, comme ça. C'est la vie. Hillary, I love you. You can have all my delegates eventually after you tell me to do so, after Biden's delegates go to you because they've been pledged to a guy who doesn't even want to run anymore. When Biden drops out because people have had enough of the No Malarkey tour, where do you think his delegates are going to go? Bernie Sanders, the same poor Bernie who got cheated with an app? You think the app's going to they're going to have an app for pledged delegates. It's going to be the Pledge Delegate app. Oh, my Pledge Delegate app. I have this Pledge Delegate app on my phone. Lakiva! Thank you. Beautiful name. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Beautiful name. Lakiva. Thank you, Lakiva. Thank you. Beautiful name. Thank you, Lakiva, very much. Thank you very much. It says here in the Venn diagram, okay? This is an amazing article. And if you look at it through my lenses, it resonates with everything I've been saying. The assumption here within this brilliantly written article by Mr. Silver is that Democrats would not play any funny games. Like, for example, an app that helps allocate delegates. Eric H526! Tar Heel Billy, hello. Yes. So, the Venn diagram is fantastic. And, among other things, candidates pick their own pledged delegates, which increases the chances that delegates will be loyal. No, it doesn't. Why would that increase? Why would that increase any? You think Bernie's pledged delegates? Oh, you're my pledged delegate. You wouldn't sabotage me, would you? Okay, Scout's honor. You wouldn't use an application on your cell phone, would you? After all, I've handpicked you. Well, actually, Biden has handpicked his. Get it? Biden handpicked his delegates. I bet he handpicked his delegates. My goodness. Michigas with that guy. Amazing. Unbelievable. Joe Biden gets to handpick his delegates. Oh my God. Crack myself up. Biden's like, I really like this system. So let's go back to the Venn diagram. So even if there isn't a majority on June 6th, the contested convention could be averted. So this is even before a contested convention. But by a candidate asking their delegates to vote for the leader. Who's the leader? The leader of the pack. It's Clinton. Or by delegates defecting on their own to the leading candidate. Who do you think they're going to defect to? Klobuchar? What is she going to take, her giant comb out? You will see this comb full of croutons and salad, and you will vote for me. I run this place. No, come on. Who do you think, Bernie? Who the poor guy got, run down by an app? He's about to lose New Hampshire. Can you imagine Mayor Pete's going to win New Hampshire again? Deval Patrick might win South Carolina. Biden is done. Nevada, you think the betting people in Nevada are going to vote for Biden? Biden is done. His campaign was done 3 years ago when I said Clinton 2020 is a reality. Get ready for 8 years of Trump in the Huffington Post. This is a very important segment, ladies and gentlemen. You need to share this segment with everyone you know. This is an article. I'm going to put this article in the description section. Well, actually, you know what? I'll add this to the description section of every one of my segments. This is an amazing article. It says here in the Venn diagram, no majority of... Okay, so then there's a big circle that says, even if there isn't a majority on June 6th, the contested convention could be averted. And this is the big circle in the Venn diagram. By a candidate asking their delegates to vote for the leader. Who's the leader? Hillary's the leader. Who do you think's the leader? Who do you think's the leader? Warren? She's going to show the results of the DNA test? No. Or by delegates defecting on their own to the leading candidate. So the delegates can defect on their own, and they could vote for whomever they want. There are no rules. There are no rules, and they don't even have to wait. It says here they don't have to wait for the convention. They can do so before the convention. Tomorrow, Biden's delegates could, if he, let's say, eventually won, I guess he got a couple delegates in Iowa. Tomorrow, or after New Hampshire, the delegates, the paltry number of delegates that Biden has, could theoretically, in the rules, leave him and go to whomever they want. Let's say after Super Tuesday, nobody has a clear majority. Clinton runs after Super Tuesday. Those delegates can say, I'm going to go to Clinton. I'm just going to leave Biden. You don't even have to, it could be like, it could be like, they don't even have to give Biden an excuse. Biden doesn't even have to tell them. They could just be like, look, I don't want to be your delegate anymore. That's it. You think, that's it. That's all that needs to happen. Todd Rubel, thank you. Thank you, Todd. So I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, like people like when I kept saying Clinton would be nominated, Clinton, they're like, oh yeah, there are rules. She hasn't filed. I think they're gonna get around that. She used servers with top secret intelligence running on Microsoft Exchange software. She transferred special access program intelligence from the Joint Worldwide Intelligence Communications System. These are intranets within the United States government. You think you could do that? No. Because everyone looks at Clinton through the lenses of what they could do or who they are. But you're not Madam Secretary, so don't think that way. Multiple ballots cast the contention. So then there's the other. Okay, because pledged delegates aren't legally bound to a candidate. So there you go. A contested convention could technically occur even if there were a pledged delegate majority. So Biden could. Okay, this is theoretically. Biden could go into, oh, this is important. This is important. Please, at minute 19, almost 20 minutes in, this is very important. Listen to this, okay? This is part of the Venn diagram. This is very important. This is why the whole thing is a charade. Just listen. I'm assuming it's a charade. How's that? Okay? I would never try to say the Democrats are not doing things out of the goodness of their heart. Okay, so for the record, I'm assuming that I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. But in an alternate reality, they might be up to no good. Yeah, let's look at that scenario. Because pledged delegates aren't legally bound to any candidate. Say that 1,000 times. Because pledged delegates aren't legally bound to any candidate. Because pledged delegates aren't legally bound to any candidate. Because pledged delegates aren't legally bound to any candidate. Because pledged delegates aren't legally bound to any candidate. Because pledged delegates aren't legally bound to any candidate. A contested convention could technically occur even if there were a pledged delegate majority by June 6th. Even if somebody, like if Bernie Sanders won the primary, okay, that doesn't mean he won the nomination because pledged delegates aren't legally bound to any candidate. None of this is legally bound to anything. There are no laws here. This is all a game. There are no laws here. Do you understand? This is a charade. I told everyone it's a charade. Nobody really, they don't let people listen, but not really. Because pledged delegates aren't legally bound to any candidate. A contested convention could technically occur even if there were a pledged delegate majority. Why? A contested convention could technically occur even if there were a pledged delegate majority? What? You mean to tell me somebody could win this primary and their delegates could leave them? What is the point of having a primary? What's the point of having a primary? Why would you have a primary if the whole thing is nonsense? Brian Morrow, thank you. The whole thing is nonsense. Why would you... Look, this isn't rocket science. This isn't rocket science. I'm telling you, it's the pledged delegates. This is hilarious. The pledged delegates aren't even the superdelegates. The superdelegates are obviously, they do whatever they want. So the pledged delegates don't have to be, they don't have to stay with the person they're allotted to. And the whole thing is, you have to get more than 15%, but nobody's going to run away with any state. Okay, so they're all gonna. So you're gonna have. It's not. This isn't rocket science. This is like a very simple. It's not even a logic game. It's a game in irrationality. You have Mayor Pete, Bernie, Biden, Warren, Klobuchar for as long as the charade continues before Biden says, I'm done with this nonsense. Each of them get 15 to 20%. Okay, and then that's still, if they don't get 20%, that's still less than 100%. This isn't rocket science. This isn't, you don't have to be Stephen Hawking. Okay? You don't have to be Neil deGrasse Tyson, Stephen Hawking. You don't have to be, an astrophysicist to understand this. This is not a problem. If you have 5 candidates, Bernie, Biden, Klobuchar, Mayor Pete, and Warren. Each of them get less than 20%. Okay. They get pretty much the same number of delegates. Okay. Then if they have the same number of delegates, nobody has leverage over the Democratic Party. Then what they do is they say, well, you know what? Look, I'm just going to go to Clinton when she comes in. Tina Bobina! I don't see you live often, but I'm still enjoying your take on things. Thank you, Tina Bobina. Thank you. Tina Bobina, thank you. Thank you, Tina Bobina. So it's not that difficult to understand. Math has nothing to do with this. This is all simple math. You just count votes, and the math has nothing to do with this. It's delegates that are allotted, because this is such a intricate democratic primary. This is so difficult. They just want all of this is for the best candidate to just pop up. It isn't to simply pave the way for Clinton. Notice, do you remember when President Obama won, that there were the Puma people who didn't want to actually vote for President Obama? So Clinton had a vice grip on her delegates. She wasn't even going to release her delegates before she became Secretary of State. Clinton had no real background other than voting for Bush's failed interventions. So then President Obama said, okay, you can become Secretary of State, and then you have a server fiasco, and you can push us to destroy a country in Libya. You can do all those wonderful things because you've done so many great things in your life. I'm telling you, it says right here. We'll read it again. There's a dirty little secret. Democratic delegates are pledged to certain candidates based on the results of primaries, but they are not actually legally bound to vote for them, even on the first ballot. This is complete nonsense. You have a candidate in Biden that is literally only there to serve as like the ghost of Clinton 2016. But Clinton 2020 is going to be on The View. She's going to be on, she's going to be on The View. She's going to be on Howard Stern again. She's going to be on, all of these shows, it's a different ball game. The brain reigns. Thank you. This isn't like a difficult thing. Like Democrats at least are honest about this. Delegates are pledged to a certain candidate based on the results of primaries, but they are not legally bound to vote for them. In theory, this means Democratic delegates could subvert the will of voters and deny a candidate who had won the majority of pledged delegates the nomination. How much more honesty can you get? Can you be more honest? If I said this, they would say, oh, you're just a Trump supporter. Yeah, you're just, you're just out there. You were the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet. Yeah, you're just trying to do this for, In theory, this means Democratic delegates could subvert the will of voters and deny a candidate who had won the majority of pledged delegates the nomination. In theory, theory is practice. There is no. If there's anything theoretical that could possibly happen from these rules, they will take place because Democrats live within semantic murkiness. They live within the confines of semantic deceit. They love that. That's why they're like, oh, we're highly confident Russia hacked the DNC. We're not certain, though, but we're confident. We're just going to ruin everyone's lives. We're confident, though. We're confident. Democrat delegates are pledged to certain candidates based on the results of primaries, but they are not legally bound to vote for them, even on the first ballot. Okay. They're being honest. They're being honest. This is right here. Right here. It says that, and there's no doubt. I mean, the thing is that the rules are set up. There are no rules. The rules are lenient to where there could be new rules. If you're a delegate not legally bound, okay, if you're a delegate not legally bound for anything, then the delegate thing is nonsense. You don't have to have delegates. The issue with the Electoral College is that it is part of the Constitution of this country. We are a republic, so therefore we live by the Constitution. There is no Constitution. There's not even a mission statement for the Democratic Party. It's a private entity. It is a private entity. They do as they wish. They have stated this. They have stated this without a shadow of a doubt. They do as they wish. They don't have to abide by any rules. They are not bound by any federal laws. They're not bound by the Constitution. They're not bound by really any state laws. They can do as they wish. So when they come up with the nonsense that, well, you have delegates, but these delegates don't have to actually vote for who the people voted for. Well, why do you have the delegates? Well, it's easier to cheat everyone, because then we can claim, gosh, we don't want to elect somebody who's unelectable. So there you go. Then you elect somebody who's unelectable with Clinton, but they want to lose with Clinton. They don't want to win without Clinton because it's a political machine. Do you understand, ladies and gentlemen, when this goes down and Clinton becomes the nominee, like I've been saying, and I'm the only person on the planet who's been saying this since 2017. Bannon just recently started saying this. And I wrote about this in the Huffington Post in 2017, and I wrote about this in 2019 in the Times of Israel. And NPR quoted me in 2016, accurately calling the 2016 election, or 2015, accurately calling. This is the second election I will have accurately predicted. People don't want to believe that Clinton would be nominee because they don't think she would have the audacity. That's absurd to think that she wouldn't have the audacity to take the nomination again, because the whole thing is tailored towards Clinton. Why would anyone assume that? Why would you assume that Madam Secretary sees the world the way you do? Maybe you have a sense of shame or decency or whatever. So what? What does that have to do with politics? What does that have to do with people who want political power and influence? It has nothing to do with those people. If you look at those people in the same manner you view yourself, then you don't see what they're doing. So, and now you have New Hampshire. I mean, that is going to be just, that's hilarious. Now you have New Hampshire, where if Bernie Sanders does not win New Hampshire, thank you, Eric H526. Thank you very much, Eric H526. If Bernie Sanders doesn't win New Hampshire, you're looking at the most overt, it's like the biggest admission. It's just an admission that they're cheating. I mean, you're looking at the most overt example where Democrats are cheating Bernie Sanders. Now, let's look at New Hampshire. Pete Buttigieg. So Bernie looks like he should win in New Hampshire, but then he might not get the same delegates. So there you go. It's always going to be something. It's always going to be something. There's always going to be something. Sanders pulls away from Buttigieg in New Hampshire, so according to new poll, so tracking poll, the tracking poll. So Sanders at 27%, Buttigieg at 19%. If he doesn't win tomorrow, my God, the fix is in, but it's going to be even more apparent that the whole thing's nonsense. So then there's new poll. Buttigieg is second. Monmouth University poll. Buttigieg is second. So, I mean, tomorrow is going to be very, very interesting. If it's even close, it'll be, Then you have Mayor Pete surges, Biden slips. Biden's done. So he has an abysmal showing in in New Hampshire. And then they say, well, you look at history. Nobody's won the Democratic primary without being 1 or 2 in New Hampshire. Well, the whole thing is nonsense anyway. History, you can't look at history because it's never been this much of a political machine since Tammany Hall. But here, USA Today, Bernie Sanders leads. Sanders leads while Buttigieg climbs 28% to 21%. So he's tied in certain polls, Mayor Pete. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, Bernie should run away with it. If he's not running away with it, it's a big problem. If he's not running away with this, it's a big problem in New Hampshire. But here you have Mayor Pete draws crowd of more than 1,800 during New Hampshire rally on Sunday morning. Mayor Pete campaign says 2,000 people attended Iowa rally. Now you have almost 2,000 in New Hampshire. Mayor Pete holds largest Dem rally in New Hampshire this election season. Well, how could he have drawn the largest if Bernie's up in the polls? Riddle me that. So it'll be very interesting. It will be very interesting. So Mayor Pete draws big crowd. Let's see. And this is interesting too. He drew a big crowd in December too. Mayor Pete draws big crowd at Exeter Stop. Campaign officials said the town hall meeting was his third largest event in New Hampshire. So he's having large events. So he's going to have a good showing. He might win New Hampshire. I mean, at a certain point, is it cheating? Is it just that he has a better campaign than Bernie Sanders? The whole thing's tailored so Bernie loses. So it's cheating, but it's not like, okay, Pete Buttigieg is a good candidate. I disagree with, most of the things he talks about. He is a carbon copy of President Obama, a carbon copy, especially in terms of foreign policy. But he was tied in one poll. He was leading, actually, in another poll. New Hampshire rallies show clearly which Democrat has momentum. So, former Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg is clearly the Democratic candidate with momentum on the ground in New Hampshire. So the thing is, he wouldn't have gotten that momentum if the app didn't work in Iowa. But 30% of New Hampshire voters decide late, so the momentum could put Buttigieg over the top. If he wins tomorrow, it will be the biggest political defeat. It'll be, I would say, it'll be the biggest political cheating, the biggest example of cheating since 2016. Because what happened was you could not have, Mayor Pete could not have received the support that he did. He could not have received the support that he did in New Hampshire, without winning Iowa. I mean, he won Iowa, and he shouldn't have won Iowa. I thought this whole thing with the popular vote was important. Apparently, it wasn't important. So, the whole thing is nonsense anyway, ladies and gentlemen. It is complete nonsense. Now you're looking right here. Let's see. Samuel Stafford, thank you so very, very, very much, Samuel. My goodness, thank you. Greatly, greatly appreciated, Samuel Stafford. And This was an important segment, Samuel, because, first of all, thank you as always for your generosity. Greatly, 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 greatly appreciated. Samuel Stafford, quote, "In theory, this means Democratic delegates could subvert the will of voters and deny a candidate who had won the majority of pledged delegates the nomination. This is because of a dirty little secret. Democratic delegates are pledged to a certain candidate based on the results of primaries, but they are not actually legally bound to vote for them, even on the first ballot. Samuel, they're being honest in their treachery. It's unbelievable. This is unbelievable." Samuel Stafford, thank you so very much as always. You have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful week. And I appreciate your support greatly. You know, this is going to be tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. Samuel and everyone here, Luke St. Martin, Eric H526, everyone here. If Mayor Pete wins New Hampshire, the charade of Bernie's campaign is done. They did everything possible. Every single day they tried to denigrate, they tried to cheat. They did cheat. But nobody likes Bernie Sanders. Elizabeth Warren said that he said that a woman couldn't become president. That's a bunch of nonsense. She's not telling the truth. Well, then again, of course, we know from her DNA test that she has a problem with the truth. They cheated Bernie Sanders, and he never stuck up for himself. He never said, you cheated me, you do it again, I'm taking all my voters, and I'm going, and Jill Stein and I are starting a new party. It's called the Ruin the Democratic Party. He could have simply done that. Samuel Stafford, thank you again very much. Thank you. He could have simply done that. Now, it'll be very interesting. If Mayor Pete wins tomorrow, it will be the biggest one of the biggest political upsets. The whole thing's fabricated anyway. They probably saw that Mayor Pete was a very good candidate, and he had a good campaign, and he actually has the energy. He energizes liberals. Bernie does not. Bernie energizes progressives, but there aren't that many in the Democratic Party. That's why when they get cheated, they always just vote back Democrat. So, I mean, I just... Bernie Sanders should have run away. Neighboring state. He should have run away. Shadow app wins New Hampshire. Mayor Pete's momentum comes from an app that cheated Bernie in Iowa. But he's using that momentum, and Mayor Pete, before all the votes were tabulated, declared victory. Now you have articles saying there's one poll that says 25%. Buttigieg is up in a Suffolk University tracking poll, 25% to Sanders is 24%. The guy, and he was only like at 12% not long ago. Like, what, 2-3 weeks ago? How are you getting more people at your rallies than Bernie Sanders is? And, like, I feel bad for Bernie Sanders. He had a heart attack. The movement is completely, like, grounding to a halt. I mean, I feel bad, but also he did this to himself. I could spend 10 hours straight talking about all the mistakes that Bernie made from promoting the myth, spreading and spewing the same bogus myth that said that Trump was working with Russia against Hillary because the Russians were afraid of the Democrats. Nobody even believes that anymore. You know, they don't even really believe that. Now they just go to, the Russians are here. They don't even explain themselves. Before they would kind of try to explain, it would make no sense. But they don't even explain themselves anymore. Like, yeah, you know, the Russians they're still messing around with our electoral system. This is amazing. This is because there's a dirty little secret. Democrat delegates are pledged to certain candidates based on the results of the primaries. They are not actually legally bound to vote for them. The whole thing is tailor-made to simply elect Clinton. And this is what happens a lot when I say things. This has happened ever since I started my YouTube channels and I began my writing in politics. People say, that's ridiculous. That's absurd. Oh my God, that's clickbait. Oh, you just care about, you just care about clicks. Then they say, well, the Russians. It's like I never get credit for anything. They never said, hey, oh my God. No, it was just, I'm like, when I was on the left, I'm like, she's unelectable. She's a criminal. She's gonna lose. Quiet. Heathen. Blasphemer. Heretic. Then it's like, I was right, don't you know? Like, you just don't like the clickers. Now every day I'm like, she's gonna be nominee, she's gonna be nominee, she's gonna be nominee, she's gonna be nominee. Samuel Stafford. Trump worked with Khrushchev. Thank you, Samuel. As always, thank you. I'll move my... All right, let's just see one more thing before we head out for the day. Samuel Stafford, thank you. Check out the Venn diagram also on this. Even if there's a majority on June 6th, the contested convention could be averted by a candidate asking their delegates to vote for the leader, or by delegates defecting on their own to the leading candidate. This is an article, January 23rd, 2020, 538, election update. What are the chances of a brokered convention? Okay, by Nate Silver. It explains everything. In a way, it explains what I've been trying to say in a very different manner. Okay? All of this, ladies and gentlemen, is completely and utterly contrived, manipulated, fabricated. This is a charade. This is a farce. This is not real. The Houston Astros were more honest. Okay? Hillary Clinton is going to be the nominee. She's going to be the nominee. I will have made the biggest political call of all time in 2017. I saw this light years away. Why? Because everyone wants to believe. Because if you are presented with the reality that Democrats aren't even a political party, they're a machine run on graft and media manipulation, then you'll never vote Democrat. So people can't accept that. They can't accept that. The whole thing's run on graft and party loyalty. When Bob Menendez, an establishment Democrat, and Andrew Gillum, a progressive, needed money, they went to Clinton. They fundraised with Clinton. Why is that? When Andrew Gillum talked about Medicare for all in Florida, he said, well, we can't have it without neighboring states adopting it. So the whole thing's nonsense. They don't, the whole Medicare for all, Bernie Sanders thing, they have no intention of ever implementing any of these policies. At the end of the day, it's the Mayor Petes of the world who will be the future of the Democratic Party. If they want to win, they'll get Tulsi Gabbard as the future. Just the foreign policy, I agree with. But I'm voting Trump in 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, you have a wonderful day. I will have a live stream this evening at around 10:30 p.m. Pacific. I'll have an upload also. Denise T, hello. Hope all is well. Samuel Stafford, thank you so very, very much. As always, thank you, Samuel. Thank you, Samuel Stafford. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great day. Have a wonderful day. Have a great week. I'll see you today. Liza Jean Williams! H.A., your message and voice are soothing. Thank you from California. Thank you, Liza Jean Williams. Thank you so very, very much. Thank you. Thank you, Liza Jean Williams. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Samuel Stafford. Eric H526. Luke St. Martin. I'll see you later on today. Check the upload in a couple of hours and then the live stream this evening. Thanks, everybody.